She had built an empire, but at that wedding table, she had never felt smaller. Isabella Hayes, the brilliant CEO who was once on magazine covers for being the youngest woman to lead a Fortune 500 company, sat in her wheelchair at the edge of the ballroom. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above her, music floated through the air, and couples laughed as they clinked glasses. Yet she sat alone. It wasn't that she hadn't been invited, she was the bride's cousin. But the whispered glances, the subtle pity in people's eyes, and the way no one seemed to know what to say around her weighed heavy on her chest. Since the accident 2 years ago that had left her paralyzed from the waist down, Isabella had mastered boardrooms, rebuilt her life, and commanded respect in business. But weddings weren't boardrooms. Here, people didn't see the powerhouse CEO. They saw the woman in the chair. Her hands tightened around the champagne flute. She told herself she didn't care. She was used to it. Still, a tiny voice whispered, maybe she did care. Maybe tonight, sitting here under the golden lights, she didn't want to be invisible. Excuse me, a warm voice broke into her thoughts. Isabella looked up. Standing in front of her was a man holding a little girl in his arms. He wasn't dressed like the other men, his suit wasn't designer, but it was neat. His tie hung a little loose, his hair slightly messy, like he'd rushed to get ready. His little girl, maybe 6 years old, clung to his neck, her big brown eyes scanning Isabella curiously. I know this is sudden, the man said, a nervous smile tugging at his lips. But, would you be my date tonight? For a moment, Isabella blinked, stunned. She let out a soft laugh, more from disbelief than amusement. Your date? Yes, he said simply. You're sitting alone. I'm sitting alone. My daughter thinks you look like a princess. So, what do you say? The little girl nodded eagerly. Please, Daddy never dances. Something cracked inside Isabella's chest. She hadn't been called a princess in years. She searched the man's eyes, half expecting a joke, a cruel dare. But all she found was sincerity. All right, Isabella whispered. I'll be your date. And just like that, the evening shifted. The man introduced himself as Daniel, a single dad who worked as a contractor. He wasn't polished like the wealthy men Isabella usually brushed shoulders with. But he was grounded, real, and surprisingly funny. His daughter, Lily, stayed close by, chattering about her favorite cartoons and how she loved weddings because of the cake. Isabella laughed more in those few minutes than she had in months. When the music changed to a slow song, Daniel stood, then hesitated. Would you like to dance? Isabella froze. The words stung, though he meant them kindly. I don't exactly dance anymore. Daniel crouched down to her level, his expression gentle. Then maybe I could just hold your hand while we sway. Who says dancing only has one definition? Her throat tightened. For years, she had avoided dance floors, avoided being reminded of everything she lost. But now, with Lily giggling beside them, and Daniel waiting patiently, she nodded. He didn't pull her onto the floor. He didn't make a spectacle. He simply stood beside her, holding her hand, swaying gently as though the world had slowed just for them. For the first time since the accident, Isabella didn't feel broken. She felt human. But as the night wore on, reality crept in. People were staring again, not with pity, but curiosity. Whispers floated, isn't that Isabella Hayes, the CEO, and who's the man with her? Her chest tightened. This was the part she hated, where her life collided with gossip, where people dissected her every move. She pulled back slightly, her hand slipping from Daniel's. "I don't want to cause a scene. Maybe we should." Daniel shook his head. "Let them look. They don't know you." "But I'd like to." His words silenced the storm in her chest. No one had ever said that to her without an agenda. Most men wanted her name, her power, her wealth. But Daniel, he wanted her. Later, as the night wound down, Daniel walked her to the car. Lily had fallen asleep in his arms. The air outside was cool, the stars peeking through the clouds. Isabella found herself not wanting the night to end. "Thank you," she said softly. "For not treating me like I was different." Daniel smiled. "You are different. But in all the best ways. Don't ever hide that." She looked at him, stunned by his simplicity. No boardroom deal had ever felt this profound. Weeks later, Isabella found herself replaying that night over and over. Daniel started calling, sometimes just to check if she'd eaten dinner, sometimes to ask about her day. Lily sent her little voice messages, calling her Princess Bella. The challenges weren't small. Isabella worried what the world would say, a powerful CEO with a man who barely made enough to get by. Daniel worried too, how could he fit into her world of wealth and cameras, but together, they found balance. She taught him that power wasn't just money, it was resilience. He reminded her that love wasn't measured by status, but by small, steady acts of care. Months later, Isabella attended another wedding, this time not sitting alone. Daniel stood beside her, holding her hand, Lily twirling around them in her tiny dress. When the music started, Daniel whispered, "Dance with me again." She smiled, wheeling forward as he moved with her, hand in hand, not caring about the stairs. For the first time, Isabella wasn't the CEO in the wheelchair. She wasn't the woman people whispered about. She was just a woman in love. And maybe that was the greatest victory of all.